Hi guys, welcome to 16-Bit Bench. It's Matt here. Look what I've got. A NEC PCEngine, or in America, the TurboGrafx16. This is a super cool little console. Got this and a few games for it. Let's just pause there. So what I have, obviously, Chase HQ, and then I've got this game, which I'm not sure what it is, but you are a woman on a stage, like a magical girl, and then you kick things, which is fun. And there's this guy, and this is a Japanese RPG, so pretty much unplayable. But what I also have is blazing lasers for the TG16, which you cannot play on the PCEngine. So what we're going to do is we're going to mod the PCEngine so you can switch it between being able to play TurboGrafx16 games and regular PCEngine games. So that's what we're going to do today. We'll clean it all up and stuff as well, make it look nice. And so what I'll show you is how the mod works, because it's quite complicated. And then we'll install that and put a little switch on the side. So yeah, let's get to it. Here we are on the bench with the PCEngine. It's just so cool. Look how small it is. And there's not much inside it either. I mean, it's a proper 16-bit console. This is on a par with the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive and the other ones that I can't think of right now. Never really took off. A bit bigger in Japan than in Europe and America. But yeah, never really got there. If we just take a look, that's the hue card that the cartridges come from. So you can't. It's not like you can open it or crack it open or anything or destroy it. Yeah, and what you might have to do sometimes is clean the pins up, because like anything, you know, pins rubbing on contacts oxidize over time, so something to look out for. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to open this guy up and take a look inside, and then we'll get to looking at the how the mod works and what you need to do to build a mod for this. It does involve soldering, a lot of soldering, and it involves building a circuit with two ICs on it. So we'll go through all that. Just to cover, first of all, I didn't have a PCEngine controller when I got this. I got a TurboGrafx turbo pad in the protective cellophane, still on there. That's cool. You can see, if we look here, that the turbo pad has an 8-pin DIN, the large size, and to save size on the PCEngine it has the smaller size DIN. So what I did is made up this cable that takes the 8-pin and down to the big 8-pin down to the small 8-pin. You can find how to do this online, and I just bought the connectors we just purchased off you know, your usual websites, Element 13, Farnell, Radio Spares, those kind of people. The cable is just a bit of video cable that I took out of like a SCART cable. So yeah, it's pretty much one-to-one pin mapping, which makes it relatively easy. Yeah, and then that connector just goes into there, if you get it the right way up. And the TurboGrafx pad will plug into there. And that's just so I could play games, because I don't have a PCEngine pad for this. Yeah, pads for this console are quite expensive actually, and if you want to play two-player games you have to have a special adapter that allows a second pad to sort of loop through. Yeah, so let's move this out of the way. In order to open this guy up, you're going to need a game bit, 4.5mm. And it's just 4 screws on the bottom. So you open it up, and we can see it's a big ribbon cable, big sturdy ribbon cable, which we like to see. And that ribbon cable goes from the main board up to the card connector. So just, would it be easier to remove the card connector or not? Well, not with that screwdriver, it wouldn't be anyway. Yeah, because we need to get to the card connector to do the mod. So let's unscrew this guy. So 3 screws hold this to the lid. 1, 2, 3. So one thing you're going to need to be careful with here is whenever you have these kind of stiff, or any soldered ribbon cable, is fatigue. These wires are not designed to be bent. If you bend them loads, they will fatigue and they will snap. So just be careful with these things. I've killed, original DMG Game Boys because they have a solid ribbon cable between. No, they don't actually. They have a plastic coated ribbon cable. Same thing though, it fatigued on where it was bent and it snapped. Then I had to replace that cable with ribbon cable, and what turns out to be, an hour's long mod is a whole day. Then when you have to resolder a cable like that, so be careful there. So we can put the lid to one side. We don't need that now. So inside down here we got the main board. A lot of custom Hudson chips actually. A Hudson C6260A, C6280A, and C6270. Looks like some RAM up here, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, the whole thing is power button. The whole thing is three chips and some RAM, power regulator, with some power stuff coming on this side under. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like there's a fuse in there. So if you buy one of these and it's dead, there's a main culprit. I guess that would blow if anyone. This power supply is 9 volt center cold. That means the center's negative, the outside's hot. That is the same format as the Master System and the Mega Drive version 1, not the Mega Drive 2. The Mega Drive 2 is center pin hot, so those power supplies are not compatible. Yeah, so I imagine if someone plugged center hot in here, it would probably blow that fuse, or if they plugged 15 volts instead of 9, it would blow the fuse, that kind of stuff. So yeah, something pretty common to look for, blowing fuse. And this heat sink is a bit wobbly, so what I'm going to do is tighten up that screw. I need to get some pliers for that. I'll do that in a minute. Other things, the AV connector looks relatively good. If you look back, I have my repairing a Master System video. The Master System ones tend to crack. This connector is a lot looser than a Master System one. It's a lot easier to push in and out, so I guess there's not as much force required on the pins, so they seem to be better. But when I get the soldering iron out to do the mod, what I may do is just reflow those anyway. No, it doesn't hurt to do that. There's the oscillator, and then some passive components, some quite high quality electricity capacitors, so one's not to be too concerned about. What's the make? Rubicon, there you go. One of the best makes in the world. Yeah, so recapping of this, probably something you'll never need to do, or you won't need to do for the next little while anyway. Long after people have lost interest in this kind of crap. Great, so we don't need the shell at all. We've got the board out. So let's take a look at how the mod works. I've been online and I've downloaded some diagrams about how to build the mod. So the basic idea is there are 8 pins on the cartridge connector. So on this connector here, that need to be reversed in order to play TurboGrafx16 games. So what you could do if you just wanted to mod it to permanently be TurboGrafx is just cut the pins and then cross connect them. But what we're going to be doing is putting in 2 digital switches that will take each pair of pins and swap it over. So that's the circuit diagram here of what we need to build, and I've already built it, and I'll be showing you that in a minute and how it works. And then you switch between the 2 positions. So in position 1, it's a straight flow through as it originally worked, and then position 2, it maps pins over between where they should be. So this will be linked in the description, and I'll have a link to the website where I found this information. Escapes my mind what it's called right now. So there's two ICs, IC1 and IC2. what I'll do is I'll just draw on the data sheet what's actually happening on IC2. So we've got 8 inputs and 4 outputs, and each input is in pairs. So if you look at the data sheet, and I'll bring it up now, you've got W0, W1, they're the inputs, and then you've got output W, X and X to X, Y and Y to Y, Z and Z to Z, and so on. So the way we're wiring this up is we will have input F to pin 1 of switch 1, then C to pin 2 of switch 1, then C to pin 1 of switch 2, then F to pin 2 of switch 2, then D to pin 1 of switch 3, then E to pin 2 of switch 3, then E to pin 1 of switch 4, and then finally D to pin 2 of switch 4. Then on the outputs here we are going to F, and this is following the nomenclature on the diagram over here that I've got up on the screen. So we're going F, C, D and E. I hope you are appreciating the fact that I can write upside down. So what happens in normal operation is the F signal will flow directly to the F output, the C signal will flow directly to the C output, the D to the D and the E to the E. When we flick the switch, what happens is C now goes to the F output, F goes to the C output, E goes to the D output, and D goes to the E output. So we're taking a bunch of outputs and we're basically flicking the order in which they arrive at the down the connector and into the board. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the circuit that I've built, and then we're going to demonstrate how it works. So we're going to flick the switch and see some LEDs change color and that kind of stuff. So that's what we'll do next. So I've already built a circuit. I built it on some perf board, and now I want to test it before I put it into the console. I want to make sure it works. I couldn't get DIP package 4551 chips, so I've managed to get SOX16 versions, and they are on little SOX to DIP converters and then into the perf board. And what I'll do is I'll show a close-up of that in a second. So I've got all the outputs coming out of the multiplexers and into the LEDs we have here. And currently all my inputs are high, but if I pull one out, you can see what's happening. So I've labeled it C, D, F, E, A, B, H, G, and that corresponds to the nomenclature on this diagram. So basically what will happen is under my figure here is a switch. The switch doesn't like to sit in the board, so I have to press it down. So if I flick the switch, impressively all the LEDs switch from position 1 to position 2. So basically what's happening is the input to C is being routed to F, the input to D is being routed to E, A to H and B to G, as per the diagram and as per what's required for the mod. So what this means is the pins that are reversed on the TurboGrafx16 cue card will then flow into the machine as it expects a PCEngine card to be. So the board doesn't know the difference between the two cards, and that is the only real difference between TurboGrafx16 and Hue cards, is that these 8 pins are reversed in there. And I guess it's some kind of regional protection thing. Like, it's just really a stupid idea, because all it means is people need to mod their consoles to play import games. I mean, like, what's the point? I've disconnected this now from the breadboard. Let's just take a closer look at the circuit as I've got it designed. Sorry, as I've got it made. I didn't design it. So like I said, there's 2 chips, 1 and 2 labelled there. They are SOX16 packages because I couldn't get the DIP packages. And yeah, oh, focus. So this is pin 1 here. It's just the closest one to my finger there. Yeah, so all I've done is make a version of this circuit here. Actually, I used this diagram. So if you see there, that's the diagram I used. for my circuit. It's a relatively simple circuit. All you're doing is kind of joining some pins together, and then that's it really. Just some pins joined together, and then there's a switch control here, which is the blue wire. So the blue wire is the input to the switch, and then you've got power and ground, and then all the inputs and outputs are on these ribbon cable connectors. Always use more wire than you need, so these are way longer than I'm going to need. And then what I need to do is look at where this will be positioned inside the console. It's probably going to be on the top of the case, and yeah, then we'll look at how we need to wire it into the connector there. Just looking at where we can place this ideally. So there are heat vents in the top, but it's doubtful they're actually used that much. There's this large heatsink here is dissipating most of the heat, and that's on this side, flipped together like this. There's a lot of empty space here above the oscillator, so I'm thinking that's probably the best place to position the circuit board, and we'll just hot glue that to the top of the lid there, and we can run all these cables along here and then into the back of the connector there. Power and ground also go into the connector. It's pin 38, which is over here, and pin 18, which is in the middle. And then we also need the blue one to go to the switch. So optimal position for the switch is probably in this gap in the shielding, sort of down here. So in this area, I think I have to take a look at that, and then we'll just need to carefully Dremel away some of the case. The idea is to make the mod look as invisible as possible. That's why I've picked such a tiny switch. You hardly see it. Yeah, so it's just a matter of figuring that stuff out, and then when I've done that, we'll come back in and have a look at what needs to be soldered. I've now positioned, found the position I think the mod chip will work best. It's in the top of the case. It's on the right hand side. That is above this area here on the main board. So there's no high components here. We have the oscillator and some coils and some passive stuff. They're all pretty low. The highest thing is this capacitor, and that capacitor will be in this area here. Just there. So to me that's probably the most optimal position. I've positioned the switch. The switch is on the back of the unit. It's this little guy here. I'm gonna cut these external legs. They're gonna go once the glue is dried, and I'm happy that it's gonna stay. So yeah, that will position the switch there on the case. So all you'll see is the black, and the little switch there will be quite unnoticeable on the back there. So I think that's a good position for that. What I'm working on now, I'll just show you with the iPhone, is I'm cutting the pins to solder the mod on. I've cut the higher pins to allow access to the rear. So if we can see there, I've cut the outer pins, and then I'm going to cut the inner pins. If we look at the diagram here, it says cut pins 15 to 23 except pin 18. So you can see on the diagram there's pin 1. The colours are the 8 pins that we will be switching around with the mod. Pin 18 right in the middle there is untouched. So yep, that's what we'll be doing. So if we look on the connector, you can see as per the diagram, pin 1 is labelled 1 and 2, and then 37 and 38. So what you do is you just count across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 15 is the first one I've cut. When I do these things, I tend to count that 3 times, and I'll mark the pin, and you can see just there by the tip of the blade, that's where I marked it, just with a like scratch on the edge. And I count that 3 times, and if every time I come to it, I get the right one, then I know I'm doing it right. So yep, that's how we do that. Now I've cut the outer pins that will allow access to the inner pins. Remember, pins 15 to 23, which is 9 pins, except pin 18, so 9 minus 1, 8 pins. Okay, so that's the next step, and then what I'll do is I'll solder I'll start soldering the mod in place. I'm now working on the positioning of how long I need these wires and how to get them to the connector. So what I'm doing is just running them along here, and then we're going to take a right angle, and here we'll land the wires up against the connector. So when the lid's off, they'll be coming up like that. So I've cut them to length now. And all I need to do is follow the diagram and solder them on one by one into the positions they're supposed to be. So yeah, I'm going to get on with that now. Right, so I've just stripped the wires back a bit there, and now what I'm going to do is tin them. So I'm just going to use the helping hands to hold them in place. I'm using a ribbon cable here, so it's multi-stranded, and the reason to tin them is so I don't get stray wires splaying off and causing shorts and stuff, and it makes soldering them to the pins a ton easier if they're already got solder on them. So just make that guy a little shorter. Yeah, so you just twist it around with your fingers, grab some solder. So I've tinned the wires. So they all have a nice little coating of solder on them. And I've trimmed them to make them a little bit shorter. So if you noticed, when you usually the plastic insulation on the wires, when you put heat to it, it retracts a little bit, and that exposes more wire than you may want exposed. So I've just trimmed it all back. It's all now a nice right length. Using my helping hands here to hold the cartridge connector. Now I'm going to go and solder the wires together. What I would consider this mod to be is partially destructive. So while you are cutting pins on the cartridge connector, you could remove and replace and repair this damage. You could put the pins back together on the cartridge connector and completely remove the mod. I've only used hot glue and all that would come away. The only real damage that we've done is we've cut a hole in the case for the switch, so there's a hole in it there, and yeah, that's pretty much it. There's no other physical damage externally to the console. So yeah, not the worst mod ever. You're not lifting chips off the motherboard. You're not cutting things, but yeah, it's still considered partially destructive. So what I'm going to do now is just crack on and follow my diagram. So this diagram, we'll use this to wire the thing up, and that should be it. Finished the soldering. Well, first go at it. What I need to do now is go through the continuity meter, make sure I've got no shorts, then check back, make sure everything's actually wired where I think it should be. Really should have put my magnifying glasses on for this because it massively hurts your eyes. So yeah, I'll put those on now for the checking. Yeah, so it's 16 wires all wired up. Just hopefully got it right. Once I've checked that and I'm sure I've got it right, I'll then hook up the power and ground cable wires and the signal cable to the switch. Make sure the switch is secured properly in the case. Cut those extra legs off from the outside. Once the wiring's done and I'm happy that it's right, we'll power the console on and we'll check to see if it loads a game. Yeah, so that's the next stage. Hey guys, so I've finished positioning the mod board, so you can see it here. It's hot glued in there. Then I've got my switch at the back here. I'm having some trouble securing it. Nothing seems to want to stick to this plastic. You know, I've tried hot glue, I've tried super glue. I could try epoxy if I really have to, but what seems to be happening is when the case closed, it pinches. I've got lucky and just cut the hole just tight enough. So now it pinches the switch and seems to hold it in position. So I might not actually have to put any glue down there. So yeah. One thing I forgot to mention: we need to lift the pin on the main PCB. So if we just take a look here. On the 6280 chip, so that's this guy here, we need to lift pin 29. So pin 29, they're labeled really clearly on here, which is good. So we got 25 to 30 there, so pin 29 is going to be this fella right there, and all we'll do is just heat that with a soldering iron and lift it up so it's no longer in contact with the board, and that should be enough. So I'll do that now and then we'll be able to plug it in and test it. So I realised something when I positioned the switch on the back, and you can see it poking out there, that if you did purchase the CD add-on, that the switch will be inaccessible in this position. So what I've done is I've added some strain relief inside and a ribbon cable. So this, if you do buy the CD add-on, you can reposition the switch to the side like this, and then run the cable flat out of the hole like that, so it comes out like that. And there's enough room there that would successfully dock back onto the CD thing. But for the most part, this switch will just be secured inside there. In order to release the switch, you just have to unscrew the screw, and then it gives you enough wiggle room between the upper and lower case to pull the switch out or put it back. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing on this model. And there we go, all working, fantastic. So what did we do? Well, we built a small circuit on a bit of perforated circuit board. It was 2 analog switches, and then we put an external switch on the console. So what we're doing is switching between 8 pins. So for PCEngine games, it's one configuration, and for TurboGrafx16 games, it's the other. We also had to lift pin 29 on the C2680 chip and take that to ground, and that's something I didn't catch in the video. Yeah, that pin needs to be grounded. If it's not grounded, then you'll get unspecified behaviour. So I was getting some bit weird behaviour. Grounded the pin, it solved the problem. So shout out goes to Gamesack, because this is Joe's favourite game, Blazing Lasers. And shout goes out to MMMonkey, his blog, where I found a lot of information on how to do this, and also I found the tip to ground that pin. Yeah, so if you like the video, you found it useful, please like it. Please consider subscribing. 2 videos a week, all retro kind of things. It's not just fixing stuff. You know, I'm trying to do some thrifting videos, and we'll be going up to the London retro gaming market in April, so there'll be a video for that as well. Yeah, follow us on Facebook and Twitter if you can, and if you want to get hold of me, Twitter's the best place, that's the quickest. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I'm going to continue to play this, and we'll see you next time.